Alright, now I'm going to go over some things with the enhancement shaman, just give you basic rundown of them for now. For starters, I'm going to start with the talent. Generally, you're going to have two choices here. It's either going to be Nature's Guardian or Stone Bulwark. Astral Shift, really, honestly, I don't find that great. So I generally stay away from that one, pretty much on every spec except Resto. Alright, so, Stone Bulwark. Now, that one really only comes in handy, like, if you're, say, taking steady, small amounts of damage, like, some kind of, like, pulsating, wave of damage or something like that. That's really the only use for it. Nature's Guardian I find to be the actual go-to, staple one, generally. Just because you don't have to worry about it. It's basically like a passive rally cry from a warrior. Now, level 30 talents. You're going to pretty much stay away from Frozen Power outside of PvP. So, it really has no use for it in raiding, sitting, and stuff like that. So, it's going to be either Earth Grab or Wind Walk, depending on the situation. I find myself actually using Earth Grab more. Now for level 45, generally there is really only two choices here. It's either Totemic Projection, which is the one I actually really like using this one, or Call of the Elements. Now, Call of the Elements I actually really don't find much use for, as far as rating goes. Because this only works on totems with a cooldown shorter than 3 minutes. So, that means that it does not include the following totems: Stormlash and Healing Tide. It does not reset the cooldown of Healing Tide. So it really, the only ones that resets are your Healing Stream, Tremor, Earth Grab, Capacitator, and Grounding. Now, really, you don't need to reset the time on those, because by the time they come back off, cooldown is just fine, you know, so that's why I like to use Strategic Projection. I can replace a totem quickly without having to recast it or something like that. Or if it's on cooldown, you know, so, and if I'm also on the move, so, I really find Totemic Projection the best. Totemic Persistence, not good for enhancement. I honestly don't find it good for any spec, really. Now, level 60, Elemental Mastery. It is your go-to, it is your staple. Use it. You will love it. Ancestral Swiftness is your go-to replacement for PvP purposes. Now, Echo the Elements. I want to talk about this one for a second. Echo the Elements, really, the only use it has is AoE. It really doesn't have much use for it in single target situations. Excuse me. And really, the thing that really sucks about Echo the Elements is its proc chance is pretty low for enhancement. So I generally stay away from it in all purposes. You can't beat the power of Elemental Mastery right now. It's so overpowered. Level 75. I don't need to say anything. Ancestral Guidance. That is it. Now level 90. I want to talk to this one a little bit. All three choices are relatively valid, especially if you don't have, at least if you don't have the cooldown trinket. Now, once you have the cooldown trinket, Primal Elementalist, boom, hands down. Alright, there is no competing with it after that. Now, outside of the trinket, let's say if you don't have the trinket yet, Unleash Fury is actually really, really good. And that's the one I kind of am going to recommend, if you don't have the cooldown trinket. Elemental Blast, Does give some decent extra sustained AoE damage. But I still don't care for it that much in rating setting. I really don't. So either Unleash Fury generally or Prime Elementalist if you have the trinket. Alright, glyphs. I'm gonna go over glyphs really quick. Uh, Majority of them, 2 out of the 3 are pretty much a staple. Pretty much a use because we are tend to be kind of squishy is enhancement. Glyph of Healing Storm. Each application of Maelstrom increases your healing done by 20% of direct heals. This is great. It massively increases your survivability. Same thing goes for Lightning Shield. When Lightning Shield is triggered, you take 10% less damage for 6 seconds. Like you're probably thinking, it's like, well, it only, procs like when I take damage or something. No. This glyph also procs off of, I'm going to bring it up for you, your Static Shock. Now, Static Shock has a chance of activating Lightning Shield when you use Storm Strike or Lava Lash, as long as you have Lightning Shield up. So basically, you should almost always have this glyph up as a buff. Seriously, it activates that much. You're pretty much always going to be taking 10% less damage. The third one is a little bit of leniency. I like Shamanistic Rage now. It gives good extra defense utility, and also helps with dispelling for the healers and things like that for myself. Another really, really good one, and I actually use this for a long time too, Fire Nova. It is a great AoE utility. I actually really do like this one. Feral Spirit, you're not going to have much use for it, honestly. The healing they do is pretty much good enough anyways, and you have so much air disposal for healing and stuff like that, so. Fire Elemental Totem, I want to talk to you about this one for a second, too. I honestly really don't care for this one because I actually feel that it actually takes away from the DPS because you're not getting as much time out of it, or duration out of it, which can come in huge handy if you know that duration. I just don't like it. Healing Stream is another one to pretty much stay away from as enhancement. It has no use. The other one is Spirit Walk. This one, again, not really much use for it. Yeah, you don't need to worry about anything like this and all that crap like that. Alright, that pretty much kind of covers glyphs. As far as minor glyphs go, pretty much whatever. I do like Spirit Wolf because you can use Ghost Wolf form when you're dead. So it increases your run speed still. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Alright, that pretty much covers glyphs and talents. Now I am going to get into your main abilities. Alright, so we have Storm Strike, you have Lava Lash, you have Unleash Elements, you have Flame Shock and Earth Shock, you have Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, and Fire Nova. Those are all your main abilities. Depending on the situation, depends on if you're going to use Lightning Bolt over Chain Lightning, and if you're actually going to use Fire Nova or not. Now, if you have, let's say you have only one target. Let's say you're just fighting one boss, okay? Do not use Fire Nova. It does no damage to the actual boss. What Fire Nova does is it spreads the damage outwards from the target that has Flame Shock on it. So, in single target situations, don't even use it. It only comes in handy with like 2 or more. So, generally 3 is the rule of thumb. But okay, all right. So I'm going to get into just a simple rotation for you. I'm just going to show you a really simple rotation. Okay, you're going to start with Storm Strike, Lava Lash, Unleash, Flame Shot, Lightning Bolt, Storm Strike again, Lightning Bolt, use proc, Earth Shock, Lava Lash, Storm Strike, Lightning Bolt, Unleash, Lightning Bolt, Earth Shock, Lava Lash. Okay, now, that was a very basic rundown of the rotation. There is a little bit more that goes into it, mainly specifically with your Lightning Bolt and procs. I will get into that, and I will show you an advanced rotation here in a bit in the video. Okay, now I'm going to go over some cooldowns, mainly defense cooldowns. You have your Shamanistic Rage, which is really good. Spirit Walker. Alright. You also have your Ancestral Guidance, of course. Spirit Wolf, or Feral Spirits. These are both an offense and defense cooldown. It is both. Now, the general rule of thumb with that is you're going to use it on cooldown. You're going to treat it as an offense. Okay, now let's go on. You also have your Tremor Totem. Honestly, I have yet to find much use for it, but you should keep it on you ready to go. Now, Capacitator Totem is a great AoE stun, but I honestly feel that it is one of the worst stuns in the game. Honestly, that is because of the huge timer on it. Because if I activate it, boom. Okay, we gotta wait like 5 seconds before it actually stuns. So you gotta be able to time it right, and it doesn't always work out the way you want it to. That's why I feel it's one of the worst stuns. You also have Grounding Totem. Comes in extreme handy most fights, or a lot of fights, I should say. Alright, now, let's see. You also have your Healing Surge, your Chain Heal, and your Healing Rain to use if you need them, of course. That's really about it. It's basically your survivability kind of comes down to managing your Maelstrom weapon procs well, like prioritizing healing over DPS and things like that. That's kind of what it comes down to, really. Okay, a few things though. Where is it? Let's see, where is it? Flurry. Basically what this does is grants you haste after you do melee crit. Basically, we actually kind of get 2 flurries, and that's what I'm going to kind of go over right now. The other way to get your second flurry, even if you have your main flurry up, is with Unleash Elements. Now, I'm going to show you how and why. Your 2 weapon imbues that you always want on is Wind Fury is going to go on your main hand, Flame Tongue on your offhand. Now, if you unleash elements, boom, okay, so every time you unleash elements, you activate both of these, actually. You activate your Wind Fury, which deals 90% weapon damage and increases your melee attack speed for the next 6 swings or 12 seconds. Honestly, you're going to use all 6 swings before 12 seconds, so. And then Flame Tongue. It increases your next fire damage spell by 30%. Now, that is going to increase the damage of Flame Shock and Fire Nova. That is the only 2 it is going to affect. Unless you are spec'd with Elemental Blast. Okay, so You always want to try and use Unleash Elements and do a Flame Shock for the empowered Flame Shock. Now, as far as AoE goes, it's a little bit also simpler. Now, to start your AoE rotation, like let's say there's like 10 guys here or something, you're gonna start with your Unleash Element and do a Flame Shock, and then you're gonna spread it. Now, what you just did is you spread that empowered Flame Shock to to 4 other targets, and it'll keep spreading, whenever you apply Flash. Now, Unleash Element, Fire Nova, basically on cooldown on AoE, so, and then Storm Strike, you can use, you can make sure you keep your spread, so, okay, oh, Flame Shock went off, so we're gonna recast that, and then Lava Lash, Chain Lightning, Fire Nova. Now, we held off there at the end on the Fire Nova because we only had it up on 1 target, so it's not really much use. So, you wait for it to get at least on 2 to 3, so. Okay, so that kind of covers a basic idea of AoE rotation. As far as totems go, the general rule of thumb is 3 or less, sometimes 4, honestly, sometimes 4. You're going to use Searing Totem. If it's 3 to 4 or more, you're going to use Magma Totem. Okay, so that kind of covers that.
Alright, now, for gems. This is going to change a little bit based on your stats that you currently have. So that's something to really consider. Your yellow ones are always going to be Fractured Sun's Radiance. That is 320 mastery that is giving us. Mastery is a huge deal. As you can see, mine's almost 80% with my gear. Alright. Second, we're going to go over red gems. Now, this is where it's going to vary depending on your stats, like expertise. As you can see, I do have one. I have one right here that is Keen Vermilion, which is expertise and mastery. Now, the reason I have this is so that I could save myself from having to reforge into mastery with another item. Or into expertise with another item, I should say. So I found that very useful. The other one is going to be your adept, which is agility and mastery. This is going to basically be your overall go-to red gem. Okay, all right. Now let's get into blue gems. Sensei's Wild Jade. It is hit and mastery. That is going to be your go-to for blue, generally. Now, let's get into stat priority. Alright, first we want to make sure that we have, since we are a melee DPS, this is a staple for all melee DPS. 7.5% hit chance. We want to get as close to that as possible. And expertise. 7.5% expertise. No exceptions. I'm at 7.49, which is pretty damn close, so I'm not worried about it. Alright, so after we have our hit, and after we have our expertise, it is mastery. Also agility. Then we have haste. Haste comes out over crit. This is for so we can get our extra hits in for extra procs and things like that. Alright, so and you can look at my gear, which you've already seen a lot of. So okay, now Dancing Seal is pretty much given for weapon enchants, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Okay, chest, 80 all stats, of course. As far as shoulders go, another given one. Gloves. Again, this is gonna vary depending on what you have, as far as like expertise and stats like that goes. If you're low on expertise, I'd recommend the one plus 170 expertise. If you're at the cap, you can go with. I actually do forget the name of it. I think it's either like agility or mastery. I can't remember which one it is for gloves. Okay. As far as boots go, it's gonna be your agility minor run speed always. All right. Now I basically am going to be getting into a full-on burst, and I'm gonna go all out on this dummy here.